past week, my wife and I binged through the full season of the new Starz series Heels. So let's talk about it. If you're unfamiliar with the show, basically it's about a small town professional wrestling division trying to survive financially as well, just keep it together from all the internal drama taking place. It stars Stephen Amell of Arrow fame. This was his follow-up project that he announced as Arrow was coming to a close, and the show finally debuted just a couple of months back, and the season 1 finale was a couple days ago, so it's time to talk about it. How this is going to work is I'll have my spoiler-free thoughts at the beginning of this, and then I'll put some spoilery talk at the end for those of you who have seen it, want to know my specific thoughts on all the things that transpired throughout this season, and I'll put little chapter markers down below so you don't accidentally see spoilers if you haven't seen the show yet. That said, let's get started with my thoughts on the season, and I found this to be highly addictive television. I don't really watch professional wrestling. I've seen things here and there. Never disliked it or anything like that. It was just never one of the things I got super into the way I got into movies and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed Stephen Amell on Arrow and was excited to see what he was going to do next, especially because I know that he is so passionate about professional wrestling and even showed up at certain events during his Arrow tenure. And so the fact that he was excited about this just caught my interest, and I wanted to check it out. And likewise, my wife interested enough in what Stephen Amell was going to do next that when I proposed watching it, she's like, yeah, sure, we can check that out. And both of us were pretty well hooked right at that first episode. The show just does a really good job of presenting these very broken people that have varying degrees of good and bad. Everyone on the show is kind of a jerk, but everyone has that spark of something good inside of them. And all the conflict just feels like these layered situations where there's not a lot of simplicity to it, because even when something bad happens, there's like, okay, well, this person made a terrible choice, but they did that because this person made an unwise choice, but that person did that because this person over here wasn't listening to them and also made a bad choice. And so every conflict feels like something you can sit there and talk about. Like after every episode, we like pause, like, man, I just hate this guy. I couldn't believe he did that. My wife would go, yeah, but she shouldn't have said this. Well, she only said that because he did this. Well, if this guy had listened. And the whole show is set up like that, where it's just this small community where everyone is a little bit too connected to one another. And so their faults have big, gigantic trickle down. And as you kind of go through it, you keep wanting these characters to make better choices. Like, that the lead guy just needs to start actually listening to the people around him more and not just trying to protect his brother. Like the whole season, that, and you're waiting for him to kind of put that together, and you're waiting for the brother, who's definitely a jerk, to finally own the fact that he's a jerk and stop making excuses. And there's some of these characters that are more passive, and you want them to be more active and stop letting people take advantage of them. And so the show finds a way that when someone decides to do the right thing, it's the wrong time. And so the person that needs to be confident and stand up for themselves and like put this person in their place, they do it. It's just the wrong moment where it's going to set off a terrible set of events. And the moment where this person decides to come clean about something is like, if only you could have waited a little bit longer. If only, and the whole show's kind of like this intricate balance of volatile people that feel like people you know. And every time you just start to hate someone, it gives back just a little bit. They give them just a little bit of something, reveal something as to why they're behaving that way. They soften them a little bit where they start to admit that they're wrong, and you start to want that redemptive arc for them. And part of what makes the show fascinating, if you don't know what the term heels means, it's basically a heel is kind of a villain in wrestling. The person that's supposed to get the crowd to hate them, that does bad things. So then the hero wrestler comes in and saves the day. But you have these people that are designed to rile up the crowd and make them angry. And so they're playing with this idea of how what goes on in the ring for these characters messes with their real lives, and how their real lives mess with what goes on in the ring. That's the kind of going back and forth of the show, where you have people that want to be good guys in real life that are making really bad choices in order for what needs to happen for the wrestling to be successful. And so there's like this metaphor of the show of them being heels, and how much of that is them in the ring, and how much of them is that in real life, and how much of that is them in real life pretending to be a worse person than they are for the sake of protecting other people. And it runs that metaphor all throughout it in really interesting ways, and sometimes you don't even realize how much of it is going on until later in the season when it's revealed exactly why people did certain things. And it just has a lot of emotion because of that, because you're so mad at choices characters make, and it's so frustrating with what they're doing when you start to realize that sometimes they're doing it with good motives. As we were watching through it, we watched through it in the span of a week. After there's only 8 episodes in the season. We started watching after the 7th episode debuted and watched the 8th episode basically when it aired. And so we watched through it pretty quickly, but I was still like, went to bed at 2 a.m, like, man, I can't wait we can watch the next episode. I got to find out what's going to happen. How are they going to resolve that problem? And that's when you know you have addictive television, that you really get invested in it. And one of the things that was interesting about this show is apparently the showrunner, the creator of this show, is the same guy that was the showrunner for Loki. So this guy kind of came out of nowhere and I guess he does have credits. It's not like he came out of nowhere, but popped on the screen in 2021. I guess he's behind the camera. So all these matter. Everything I'm saying is off on this. Suddenly shows up with a couple of kind of shows worth discussing, because everything I'm hearing, it seems like Heels is getting really good reviews. And then Loki, of course, is a Marvel show. And so in multiple fronts with 2 very, very different shows getting a whole bunch of buzz behind him. And I guess the final thing I want to talk about, kind of spoiler-free version of all of this, is that because it does so much where it teases where you want things to go, and you're waiting for a double cross, and these people are jerks, you're waiting for their bad side to come back. And there's so many different moving pieces where this volatile situation could go wrong, but there's just enough hope that things could go right. It builds to a very emotional and satisfying finale that has twists and turns. Unexpected things happen, the setbacks happen, the victories happen. It actually is a finale that really delivers. And kind of the more time passes, I feel like the new model of these 8-episode seasons, 13, like that just feels like what almost every show should go for. And especially in the case where you can look at like a Stephen Amell, who went from Arrowverse, which did 22 episode seasons, and that show just got burned out, and there's so many filler episodes. And you contrast it here with just like such a tight season of every episode ends with something like, oh man, I can't wait to see the next one. Oh, what's going to happen there? Man, I hope this guy gets it. Oh, wow, that guy that I wanted to get it that last time, I think he might turn out to be a good guy after all. That's what you want from television. So I thoroughly enjoyed binging through this show this last week. It is hard R. I mean, it's not just F-bombs, but it's like some of these characters, Wild Bill in here, super crass. And some of the stuff that he says, the sex scenes, strip clubs, drug use. There's a couple times where accidents, I don't know if you can even call them accidents, things happen in the ring, bones pop out of skin. So it's hard R. It's very heavy. But if you're okay with that, then it's a solid show. And actually, oddly enough, the show that it most seemed similar to me, I don't know if this is oddly, but it's sort of like an R-rated Friday Night Lights that's not about high school football, but about adults with professional wrestling, because it's all about a town driven by a sport and the internal family struggles and the community around it. It's very similar in that regard. Even the nature of the theme music, the music they use, Friday Night Lights-esque, but an R-rated version of it. So if you're looking for something new, a drama, I'd recommend checking it out. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My wife, who's less inclined to be into really hard R things and definitely isn't into professional wrestling, she was just as invested as I was. And she's like, wait, can we watch the next one? I'm like, Jennifer, it's 3 a.m. What are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, it's 3 a.m. Okay, we got to get up. Both of us were that level of hooked because it's very good. Cliffhanger, edge of your seat television that sucks you in with all the melodrama, but it's melodrama that feels earned with complex characters that grow and change, but they do it slowly, and they have setbacks, and the conflicts are multi-dimensional with multiple facets where you can sit and discuss what went wrong. And if you want to check it out, the first 3 episodes are available on a number of different places. I think they're on Amazon Prime. We watched them on YouTube. So you watch the first 3 episodes for free, and then we got Starz on Hulu to watch the rest of it. But if you're interested in checking it out, you can see 3 episodes without having to subscribe to anything, or if you have Starz, you can check it out wherever you have Starz. All right, now let's start talking about some spoilers in here. And where the show gets so frustrating is how infuriating so many of these characters are. And that's exactly what they're supposed to be. So Ace, of course, being like one of the standout character that he's so repugnant for so much of the season. And so unbelievably selfish and unable to admit his own mistakes. And so he just says these terrible things to the lady at the grocery store, the convenience store, terrible things to his brother in the first episode. So his brother, who knows all of this, decides to put him in his place in the way that he knows that'll set him back the most, which is make him lose a match. And his brother, being kind of a volatile, emotional wreck, starts crying at the end of the episode. And so perhaps what his brother did to him was even, what Jake did to him was even more potent than he realized it was going to be. But like, we know things that the audience doesn't know, but then Jake doesn't tell his wife and some of these other people what exactly was going on, because as we learn in the finale, like, he's actively trying to protect his brother's reputation because his brother is a terrible person. And he sees something good in him that I don't even think the audience can see in him, because even with all the information they've shown us, he's just repeatedly so selfish, so self-destructive, and doesn't own up anything. And all throughout the season, his brother is trying so hard to protect his brother's reputation, and so hard to like give him opportunities, that he's burning all these other bridges around him with his wife, with the other wrestlers. It all boils down to his brother being a mess, a train wreck. And so his brother Ace thinks that Crystal, who he clearly told is not his girlfriend, is hooking up with this other guy, which first off, they're not. And wouldn't be any of his business if they were, because he's the one. And so he shows up with a new valet to shake things up, to hurt her, to exclude her. And his brother goes along with it, bends everything to cater to his emotional wreck of a brother, thus triggering the girl that's actually the victim in all of this to act differently in the ring and go off script. And he did. Mr. Stephen Amell just he just cannot like blame his brother enough and own the fact that wait, I enabled my brother, right? But like, I screwed her over. I excluded her because he was doing all this crap. Wait a minute. I was part of the set of dominoes that led to a broken leg. It starts with my brother being an emotional, vulnerable jerk that was doing stuff to actively try and hurt someone that clearly cared about him. And then I enabled that, thus triggering her, even though he saw stuff. He saw she was not in a good place. He saw that Ace and new lady friend are clearly trying to agitate her. And he threw him in the ring, let it happen, set all this scenario up that leads to broken leg. And so he's blaming Crystal for going off script instead of owning like, wait a minute, I put them in the ring to do that. And of course, at the end of the day, of course, a girl saying that is not the reason that Ace broke a guy's leg. Ace broke a guy's leg because Ace is terrible. That like he was right there in the ring watching his brother just break a guy's leg because he's terrible. And the other guy, of course, being a nice guy, actually forgives him because he's too nice of a guy. But yeah, man, when that happened, it was like heart racing. And then afterwards, you have this moment where Wild Bill walks into the ring, and you're watching it thinking, oh my goodness, he's about to burn this whole place to the ground through his antics by using this as an opportunity for his own redemption to like take. Oh, what is I can't believe Wild Bill's doing this. And like the thing where you hate him the most, that he's in this horrible moment where everything went terribly wrong, taking advantage of it. And then through this bizarre set of circumstances, it turns out, wait, that guy taking that opportunity was like that's like really did save the moment, saved the event, and set them up for great success later on. And that's what made the show just so fascinating, is that all these moments, like all these characters that in some way treat each other horribly, but in another sense do care about each other, and they're all so entwined with trying to make this thing work that they could just lean in and find the opportunity in the moment that is both gross and exactly what is actually needed to pull off this very satisfying payoff of it all. That, I don't know, it's just like, you see Wild Bill walk in there and just do this, and you're like, my wife walked out of the room when that happened. When he walked up on stage and started doing his old, like, these two brothers have lost control. I can't stand this guy. I can't take this. She walks out, and then Amell, older brother, runs out and just starts, like, follows up on it as if this was all part of the show, all part of the plan. And you're like, whoa, like, man, these guys, amazing stuff. And then, of course, talking about the finale, where once again you got this complex set of things going on. Of behind the scenes, Gully is plotting his revenge, and we don't know exactly what that's going to be. What are they going to try and do? You've got older brother with his secret about he was the one that brought the Kleenex to embarrass his brother and fully push and heal. So we've got Kleenex thing kind of going on, Kleenex gate brewing in the background. You've got Wild Bill popping all kinds of steroids or whatever they were to amp him up so he could do his best in the ring, all while we know something bad's gonna come from that. And all thrown into the ring, and it starts going down, and you're expecting Gully and the crew to, like, charge the ring and ruin the show, and instead they do the thing that's smarter than what we as the audience can think of. Smarter than that, which is they trigger the moment by triggering Ace, knowing what it will be and what will make him go way off script, because they know they realize even more so than the rest of this guy is an emotional, volatile wreck, and start doing the Kleenex bit one more time. And older brother feeling bad, finally admits what's going on. Full-blown actual fight breaks out. And they've set up all these pieces of where, as an audience, we're so frustrated that Crystal can't get her shot. Every time she's about to get her shot, and they showed us back in episode 2 that she has amazing skills. And we know both brothers have seen her do this too, on a whim, beating a guy up. They know this, they've just ignored it. They're not giving her her shot. And she's already won over Mary McCormack, the lady that helps run things. She's already been won over. And Amell has just keeps whatever it is that he won't give her that shot, and he keeps giving his brother a shot. But she finds herself in the ring and gets her moment where Wild Bill is pooping his pants. I was thinking, like, is he going to have a heart attack? Is he going to be stoned and just, like, what is he going to... No, they set a thing in place that his gigantic failure, which is so embarrassing for him, turns out to be the thing that removes him from the equation. So we need something else, someone else to step in to shake things up a little bit. And right there, we've got her Bonnie Bunny, Crystal, to have her moment in the spotlight. And even as Gully tries to make his final dash, gets punched in the face. Like, just such like a satisfying conclusion where trouble happened. Brothers are on very bad terms. There's no resolution really to marital troubles, but having these moments where just the right people make just the right choices. Even in the final bout, Ace, when Crystal's there, he's not like he's trying to sabotage things. He just wants to beat his brother up. Doesn't want to sabotage things, so he's like playing on board. He's going along with all of it too. And so season ends with her getting her moment and brothers on very bad terms. And even Wild Bill openly walking, clearly having pooped his pants, and takes out Gully. So the guy that was just horrible, grotesque character early on. Guy that you thought was opportunist, taking advantage of this terrible moment where a guy's leg gets broken, somehow is part of finagling the situation to create this great payoff for the character that's an actual underdog and not a total jerk. So I just thought it came to like cleverly written. All these moving pieces where you really don't know what's going to happen. It's not predictable at all. There's just all these moving parts and like, will she get her moment? Will she not? How's this going to end? I think they nailed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the season, thoroughly enjoyed the finale. And I don't know, those are my thoughts on it. It's not really a review, just me rambling things that got me excited about the show. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments section. If you saw it, are you interested in seeing it? All that fun stuff. Keep talking movies and TV too much.